SEN Test Cricket for Henley Holmes. Adam Collins, Brad Sunder racing here at the Kia Oval in South London. It's the end of the line, the final Test match of this series. Australia have retained the Ashes at Manchester in the rain last week, but they really want to win the series for the first time in 22 years in this country. That's been all the focus. Hearing from David Warner yesterday, who didn't retire, and the captain Pat Cummins before.
I can't believe we're back here at the Oval. This is where it all began 2 months ago, which feels like 22 years ago. It's been that kind of tour, right? You've never really known what to expect from the match, from the captains, from the players, and even though I think, and Pat Cummins summed it up beautifully yesterday when he spoke to us. He's like, I don't think he said I haven't been part of a series where there have been so many scorecards just like doing the round. Everybody thinks that they've won or they've lost or they've drawn it, and I think that just where English Test cricket is right now. But the bare facts are Australia are 2-1 ahead. The Ashes is theirs in that sense. They do retain the urn, but they're not here for retention purposes. They're here to win this series. It's something both Cummins and coach Andrew McDonald have said from the beginning, and I don't think they'll rest easy till that task is done.
So in terms of Pat Cummins speaking before, just in the press conference room, he was quite good about how he's learnt a lot as captain, that he doesn't feel taxed. The question you asked him about captaincy fatigue, he's not experiencing that, but he does acknowledge that 6 Test matches in 7 weeks is pretty heavy duty, and he's taken quite a bit. I suppose you always learn more in a loss, don't you?
And I think in a way it showed in his bowling. I mean, he couldn't put his finger on what went wrong, but something did go wrong. It was probably the worst bowling performance he's produced in a Test match, forget as captain. And I think it all just adds up, doesn't it? And not just the fact that he's had to run in and bowl some tricky overs, the fields that have been set, and like he's kept saying throughout this tour, it's been a different form of Test cricket at times. I mean, there has been some conventional patches, don't get me wrong, but just having 9 men on the boundary, bowling short for long periods of time, and just having to think on your feet. I'm sure it's got to him, and it is his longest tour as captain. But having said that, it was very good to hear him say he's fresh, he's ready to go, and it's just 5 more days, and they have a very clear task ahead of them, as I said before, which is to win this series. And Australia, it's actually a great stat when you think about it. Australia win a lot as a test or as a cricket nation, both the men and women. Yeah. For them to have not won a series in England for 22 years is a long time. That record needs to be set straight, and that's what Pat Cummins is looking after.
Interesting hearing from David Warner yesterday. First of all, he set to one side all the retirement speculation about this week at the Oval. I mean, I know we spoke about it in our most recent video as well. This isn't a bad place for players to jump off the merry-go-round, but he's going to go around again, as he foreshadowed at his retirement, interview earlier this year. But he made an interesting comment about not really feeling like he's observed Bazball. Pat Cummins has a slightly different perspective from where he's coming at. But the England team yesterday, Harry Brook and Ben Stokes today, saying they're going to play even more aggressively this week.
Yeah, they said that. Harry Brook said yesterday, we'll still, it'll be a model victory. Oh, how many times have we heard that during this Ashes? If they do win and deny Australia a chance to win a series here. I didn't think Bazball was about denying anyone anything. It is about having fun and taking victory and defeat out of the equation, which, well, I guess England have done in a way, just the way they've played.
Which, by the way, I said Australia lost before. I mean, it says a little bit about last week, right? Like, we sat through 2 days of rain and 3 days of really interesting Test cricket. It felt like a loss, but they did still draw. Like, England did not win last week.
They did not, even though they thought they won in Edgbaston as well, didn't they? But but it was a position that they were in. Go back to the end of day 3, Australia and are behind by 165 runs. They'd already lost 4 wickets, but Australia had to face just 30 overs over the next 2 days. Credit to Marnus Labuschagne, who is back in form, made the 50 in the first innings and the big 100 in the second innings, and Mitchell Marsh, who thankfully for Australia is bowling at the back. He didn't bat or bowl yesterday, so that's a positive signs for Australia. He's been such a key player for them ever since he came into the side, they batted through that tough 30 over period, and that's what Australia have done enough times to be 2-1 ahead. In Edgbaston, where England were on top on that final evening, Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon found a way to get over the line. At Lord's, Australia dominated, but then when Ben Stokes went hard at them, they once again found a way to just keep their calm, keep their nerve, and get rid of him and win that Test match, and that is why they're 2-1 ahead.
You mentioned one of the West Australian all-rounders, the other one, Cameron Green's batting behind us at the moment. Questions about him in the press conference. I suppose in terms of the configuration of the Australian 11, Pat Cummins has said himself they're still thinking about a spinner. They haven't quite landed on which fast bowlers will play either, but Green did bowl so well here in the World Test Championship final. Feels like, as you say, a really long time ago, but they're mindful of his performance here against India. What we do know from that press conference, impassioned question to the Aussie captain about Michael Neser. Will he finally get his opportunity after 2 full tours of England? And well, he didn't completely rule it out, but in all probability, no, he will not.
Yeah, just the way he answered it. But I'm just glad, like, someone had to ask him that question.
Yeah.
But it had to be either you or me, Adam. It is in England that the hashtag Neser must play campaign started, and we've stuck with it. He has played 2 test matches in Adelaide back to back. But Pat Cummins, the first thing he said, I'm a big fan of Ness as well. Like, how can he not be?
Get him on the hashtag. I mean, we've been going on this for 4 years now. We need Pat Cummins to engage and indulge us somewhat and play him during the Aussie summer, if nothing else.
He has to, and he did say that hopefully, I'm sure he has a few more baggy greens left to, or like a few more test matches to play in the baggy green in his career. Look, he's done everything right, which is what Pat said as well. He's scored the runs, not just in county cricket but in Shield cricket. He's taken more wickets than anyone else in Shield cricket and in county cricket. What more can Michael Neser? And he still is a handful to face for any of them batting against him. So, and they do love him. Like, go back to Adelaide when he takes that wicket of the second ball. You and I were jumping up and down in the commentary box. But what I'll never forget is how Usman Khwaja, who's not playing that game, charged to the middle with Mitchell Swepson, wasn't playing that game, and they were on top of him. He is the most popular member of that side. But, well, I guess I don't know whether he'll be back here for another Ashes tour. He's already in his 30s, but we've stuck with him for 10 test matches, but we couldn't get him over the line. But hey, it's not over. Hashtag Neser must play.
Indeed. So the top 6 for Australia will certainly remain the same, with Marsh in there at 6. England, unchanged 11 from the side that drew last week at Manchester. Okay, we'll leave it there. Adam Collins and Bharat Sundaresan pick up our commentary throughout the week here at the Oval, the famous gasometer over our shoulder here. In my opinion, the best ground in England. Our coverage pre-game is for Henley Holmes, and we'll be back on commentary before the first ball tomorrow.